we have you have to buzz in, you hit a button out there, and they unlock you here in the office. If you've been here, you know that. The way it really should be designed, though, is it should be designed so that people, before they can get to the kids, they have to go through the office. So part of the bond dollars, there's $1 million here, and you can go on the website and look at the dollars set aside to reconfigure this so that when you get buzzed in, you're buzzed into the office and not this area. What we wouldn't want to have happen is someone get buzzed in and then make a beeline and get to the kids, get to our staff before you know, someone in the office seeing that. So some of the dollars are set aside to reconfigure this so that you have to go through an office to get to the kids. Safe school entries, that's the way they're designing them right now. And the plan is to do this kind of configuration to all of the buildings. And if you were here last week, I showed you a picture of how you could walk into my previous middle school. I was principal for 10 years. You could literally walk into that building, hang a left, and you would be all of the kids, all of the staff. And you know, as Paul said, hopefully we wouldn't have someone come in that wants to do some terrible things to our kids. But the way that school was designed, we had to fix it. And we put safe entryways, we put up doors, we busted a hole in so that you walked into that front, you had to go right in the office, and that's the same thing that we would do here. We either would, you know, a door here, block this off, and so they have to go in, or possibly even put a door down there, so you got to go in the office that way. So that's part of this safe school entryway, and it's part of the way that they're designing new schools. It's unfortunate that we have to do that as a society, but that's what we have to do. So, anything to add?
So as Mark mentioned, there's a couple different ways we could kind of reconfigure this. Put another set of doors here, punch a door opening through here. There's even room in the existing vestibule to do that. So these doors would be locked at all times, essentially. The only way you can get in is through the office. So, but I did want to make sure you understand too, we don't just have some cookie cutter idea of how to make this work. We do want to meet with the staff again. I know there's a new principal here now from when I walked the building before. We should fix these acoustics too.
Yeah.
I can only imagine the morning what it's like, but we do want to sit down and figure out what works for staff. For instance, what doors do they use for recess, right? We don't want to put a Prox card reader that costs a couple $1,000s on a door that doesn't get used. We want to put it on the door that gets used for recess. We want to know, where do we need cameras at? How does that system work? How is it integrated with the systems you have? So we really want to sit down with everybody once we get designers on board and talk through the best way to make this work. It is kind of fun to tour this building because it's a lot newer. If I do encourage you guys to get out to Jackman and Douglas if you haven't recently. Those buildings are not anywhere near the condition that this one is, which is a lot of what's driving this. Same thing with the junior high and the high school, which you may be more familiar with, but some of the challenges at those older buildings as well. So that's kind of it for the front, I guess, unless we wanted to go outside.
Let's talk about the
yeah, so right now, basically, there's the main entrance and then there's a drive that swings out right through the parking lot and comes around. What we're looking at doing is taking the sweep of that other drive wider out into the green area so that there's additional, I'd say about 20 cars worth of stacking. That way they won't back up onto the road, they won't get near the intersection, which is obviously a major safety concern in the mornings and in the evenings. So I think the bus drop-off seems to work very well from what I've seen, from when I've been out here, but we do want to address the front of the building. And again, we probably send out a survey to the parents, find out exactly how many people drive their kids to school in the morning, how many cars do we have, how do we accommodate that, because we don't want to fix it and then find out in 2 years that it's not working again. We want to fix it once and make it right for the next 20 years.
Very good. Okay, so
I think we're going to head down to the kindergarten wing.
Yes. Kindergarten wing. Okay.
Existing kindergarten classrooms. It was originally designed as a kindergarten classroom when the building was built, which is great. Unfortunately, when the building was designed, most of the districts around here had half-day kindergarten, so you were able to put 4 sections of kids through 2 classrooms. Nowadays, half-day kindergarten is almost all gone, and there's actually 4 kindergarten classrooms full day in this building. So, the way the space is built is a little bit different than the other 2 rooms that are functioning that way right now. And I don't know if you want to mention just some of the...
Yeah, so right now we have 4 sections of kindergarten to accommodate for the full day schedule. Our other 2 kindergarten classrooms are operating out of general classrooms. So classrooms that weren't originally designed for 5-year-olds. So this classroom is what you would typically want out of a kindergarten classroom. A lot of space, a lot of room for storage, a sink, a restroom, and then a connection to the other kindergarten classroom. Now, the teacher that's in this particular room has been in this room since the school opened. So there's a lot of community that's been built in this classroom. But unfortunately, right now in the building, we have 2 classrooms that are, exactly what you would want out of a kindergarten classroom, and 2 that are not. So the bond would allow us to create parity for our kindergarten students.
Yep, and you can imagine trying to take a whole class of kindergartners out to the bathroom down the hall, turn right, turn left, line up. What do you do when they're standing in line for 20 minutes to get through the restroom? I've got 3 youngsters myself, a first grader and a second grader and a fourth grader, and I know how much trouble it is to get them to go to the bathroom at night.
Yeah, if you send them, you can't send them on their own, and if you take your entire class of 25 students, half boys, half girls, to the restroom, you're looking at losing, you do that 2 or 3 times a day. Think about that, how that, the instructional time that's lost. That's an exponential, and this is such a formative year in kindergarten that, I mean, we could talk about losing literally like 2 to 3 weeks of instruction for the year on something like taking your kids to the bathroom 3 times a day. So it adds up quickly. Something as small as having a bathroom in a classroom goes a long way in kindergarten and first grade.
Yep, and just on a side note, I mean, that's one of the reasons that we're looking, that's one of the many reasons we're looking at building a new elementary school, is the new elementary school would have bathrooms at the lower grade levels. Same thing with Smith Road. There are about, I think, 6 or 7 classrooms over at Smith Road that have restrooms in the classrooms that would serve as the kindergarten and probably first grade classrooms as well. So same theme you'll hear if you talk to the other principals. They have the same concerns about lost productivity and lost learning time and things of that nature. So you'll also see this room is a lot bigger than the other kindergarten classrooms in the district, which is something we want to remedy as well. So obviously the kids are on the floor a lot. They're on the carpet a lot, they're doing a lot of different activities, and we just want to provide that space for them, so. Any questions at all?
Just on the exit door, is that
Yep.
open during the day, or
That
obviously
should
got to
be-
be closed?
Yeah, the school is fully locked during the day. Not a single door in this building is unlocked throughout the day. So all exits are locked, even the front door is locked. You have to get buzzed into the front door.
How about an emergency in this room?
They would use that as an exit door.
You can get
As
out,
an egress.
but you can't get in.
Absolutely, yeah, there's a panic bar on the door.
Yep, it does
Are
have
you
the
able
right,
to hear it?
it has the right hardware on it, for sure.
So that even a 5-year-old could strike it and open it.
Yep. It also has, an updated fire alarm system, which the other buildings don't have. It's got exit signs on the doors, and you mentioned the pass-through to the other room as well, so. It does have a lot of features that the older buildings don't have, which is good. Which is why the cost is a lot lower to do some remodeling at this building.
And also in this building, we have 2 kindergarten teachers here and 2 where we started the tour. So there's a disconnect. You want your kindergarten classrooms to be relatively in the same area so that they can function as a team. And that's really important to the structure of a school. And right now, it's a geographic disconnect. And it would be nice to be able to remedy that.
One other thing I wanted to point out before we moved on is the cabinets over here in the back corner. So it's kind of a unique thing. I haven't seen it done exactly this way before, but these are essentially the lockers for the kids to hang their coats up in. And the way it works is you open up the doors and there's a coat hook here, there's a coat hook on this side, and there's 4 in the back. So essentially the kids hang up all their coats, put their boots and everything in here, and then the idea is that these get shut during the day and that's where all their stuff is. I think the reality of it is trying to have 20 plus kids in this corner all sorting their stuff out at the same time and trying to get dressed, and just the space that this takes up doesn't function very well. I've seen in similar buildings where they have something like an island out here, but that eats up a lot of floor space. What we're looking at doing is trying to put lockers on the corridor side, and we try to figure out a way. And again, new principal, so new ideas. We'd want to sit down and talk about that, but we try to figure out a way to not eat any of the floor space up in the corridor, either recess them into the wall or something like that. Now, whether we do cubbies or we do lockers or we end up doing something on this wall and reconfiguring all this, yet to be determined. Once we get an architect on board, they'll have some different thoughts and things, but this system doesn't seem to work very well, at least not from the feedback I heard from teachers. So.
Because if you're in that one, the kids can't go in that one, and then they hit each other.
Right, you have the doors
And
open to each
kindergartners
other.
can't unhook that other door. They don't get that.
So it's not a very good system, and we want to remedy that. So.
And this would also, during a lockdown procedure, I can make a 360-degree turn, and I can see every door in the facility, with the exception of the gym, and unless kids are in the lunchroom. This is a feature that is instrumental to school safety, that I think most principals do not have an opportunity to do that. And it's something that, with this bond, if we end up with another elementary school that is very similar to this one, we'll have 2 schools that we can, literally during a lockdown procedure, you can make a full circle and see all 700 of your students and all 75 of your staff members from one point. And being 6'7" doesn't hurt either. But it goes a long way for building safety, and I think as parents, when you send your kids here, you want to send your kids to a safe school. And something like this goes a long way in a community like Bedford. So I just want to point that out from this point. We're going to check out the computer lab.
Yeah, just to add to that real quick. So we did, when we were looking at, what would the cost be to build a new elementary school, we did kind of use this as the model. Seems like most people are happy with the way this building functions. I know it was designed a lot in part by the staff that work here. It's not to say that we have to replicate this building. I think there are some efficiencies to doing that as far as common materials, common layouts, architectural fees that could be reduced if we hired the same architect that's already designed it once, things like that. But we'd certainly want to sit down with the parents and staff that are going to be occupying the new building and talk through, does this layout work? Is it the right size? Is it the right fit? And then go from there. But we did kind of use this as the model, if anyone's wondering. So.
Also, law enforcement rapid deployment, the more the buildings are the same, the easier that SWAT teams, if there were ever an emergency, would be able to know the layout format.
That's a good one.
It's bonus.
Yep. Great. Let's go over to the last.
Yep, and then to the lab.
And, thank you. Yeah.
This guy looks like the food guy.
No doubt about that.
Yeah.
It's weekly time both in the media center in our library as well as in our computer lab. And next year all of our 5th graders will have Chromebooks. So that will actually free this room up for our K-4 students because the lab will be going into the general ed classroom for our 5th grade students, our 4 sections of 5th grade.
That's fun. My 3-year-old knows how to do a mouse, but he has to move it with 2 hands and then press the button.
So we don't have a ton of scope in this room, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention a little bit to point a couple things out. One is that there's only one way in and out of this room, and when I walked through, the teacher made it very clear that she's not happy about that. So we are looking at putting in a door, a second means of egress out of this room to make it a little bit safer in the event that there is an issue. I typically don't like tiered floors because I think it kind of locks you into only using a room one way. But the teacher here loves it, is very happy with it, so the last thing we're going to do is change that. So we would keep the layout of the room the same way. Another thing that there's quite a few dollars in the bond app for is lighting controls. So when this building was built, the code said you could basically have the lights on a switch, on and off. Since the building was built, the electrical code has changed to say that you have to put an occupancy sensor in the room. So basically what that is you leave the room for a set period of time, the lights turn themselves off, you come in, they turn themselves on automatically, it saves a lot of electricity. There is a cost to install them, but it pays for itself over a period of years. There's actually credits you can get back from DTE and from Consumers Energy. At Mark's previous district that we worked with them on, we actually got about $80,000 in credits back from Consumers Energy for all the energy efficiency upgrades we did. But we'd certainly be looking to do that again. Those dollars can go right into the general fund, so they can help the budget, help the district climb back up out of deficit, and offset some other costs. So that is the thing we'd be looking at doing building-wide in this building is new lighting controls. So I just think that's about it.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. So we're gonna head back to the cafeteria for.
Yep,
Do we
you
have?
want to hit the bus? I heard there's a bus in the parking
Yeah,
lot.
we do have a bus in the parking lot. So which way is? Where's Cody
back
at?
to the main junction.
Okay. I love this building, but I get turned around when I'm in here. Which way's out?
Right there.
Purchased in 1990.
Okay, and this is what average one of our average buses.
Yes, it is Not the oldest one we have.
Okay.
The oldest ones that we bought were in '94.
Okay.
But before I brought this out, I shut every single one of the windows. And you can see there's several on both sides that have fallen open. Latches are just broken. They're old.
Yep,
Yes,
go ahead.
I encourage
Yep.
you to get on the bus, take a look at anything. I mean,
This bus was purchased in '97. We do have some '94s on the road.
the fifth bus that they purchased that year. So like 97, 5, that's the year that they bought it.
All buses have communication.
Not that expensive.
Yes, all of ours,
Emergency.
You got
all
4 or
of our
5 on
buses
one
have
side. The latches are
two-way
broke.
walkie-talkie radios that can link back to the bus garage.
You know,
And then,
that far.
well, I don't believe
have
that they
to
went,
go.
yes, I believe they have to go from there to the sheriff because that way the director of transportation has, can say whether it needs to be directed to
Each bus is going to
the sheriff or not. And I believe the radios also communicate with the building.
in this one, and you can always
Which
tell
is
which year the
an
bus was
advantage.
built by the.